Hey, what's up, guys? It's Jay Finning, host of the Hard Parking Podcast. So I finally got my studio complete. And the thing I've been teasing for a long time is these acoustic panels behind me. So this video coming up, I'm going to walk through how to build it. I'm going to show you what it is, what it takes, and how to take your studio to the next level. Before you go any further, make sure you hit like and subscribe down below. And I'll catch you on the other side. Okay, guys, this is what the room sounds like without any of this stuff on the wall. Had to take it off so you guys can hear. When we're done, I'm gonna put it right back on the wall and do the exact same exercise. And then I'm gonna show you guys how I did it. You guys ready? You hear that? You can hear the sound bouncing all around. It's going all over the place. When I turn around, just because it's hitting that wall, it's hitting this wall. If I turn around and do it this way, it's even worse. That's a lot worse. Hung the stuff back up on the wall. I opted to not use my corner bass traps because really they don't capture much of the clapping noise anyway, but you'll notice a big difference. Check it out. Standing here facing you, there's a little bit of reverb still because I don't have hardly anything on that wall yet. Now let me turn and face this wall and do it again. All right, so here's the materials you're gonna need. We're gonna be building per panel, you're gonna need just under 11 feet, about 10.5 feet of wood. 1x4 is what you get. You're gonna need some felt or wool. I recommend felt. On the back, I use burlap, but there's other backing material for furniture that is better. You're gonna need a stapler, a T50 staple gun. This is brand Arrow. It's probably one of the best brands out there, if not the best brand for a manual staple. I recommend manual staples over the electronic or even the air one. There's gonna be a link in the description for this. I have 5 staplers. This is absolutely, without question, the best stapler for any project. I'm gonna need some staples. Recommend using T50 staples. Doesn't have to be Arrow brand. You want 3/8 of an inch or 5/16 of an inch. You don't want it any longer and any shorter. The wood itself is not very dense, and you have to make sure you get through the felt and any of the backing material. Wood screws, I'm recommending number 10 wood screws. If you go to the hardware store, if you don't know what that is, you'll find them. Get the number 10 wood screws, a minimum of 1.5 inches long and the maximum of 1 3/4. Anything longer, it's overkill and you might split the wood. Anything shorter, it might not make it through both layers of the wood to grip. This was optional. This is a BESSEY 90-degree angle clamp. I did not use this for the first 6 panels that I created. And as a result, all my panels are a little crooked. They're more like trapezoids instead of parallelograms. So they're not a standard rectangle. This will ensure you make a standard rectangle. In the DIY coming up, that's what I'm gonna be using. Of course, you're gonna need a tape measure. Any tape measure would work. I could link one in the description, but you probably have one laying around the house. As long as it can measure at least 4 feet, you're good to go. Something to cut. A standard saw, a circular saw, or a miter saw. You're gonna need a power drill and probably a power screwdriver. You're gonna need the Safe and Sound deadening material. This comes in 2 different styles. I did some research before I bought it and I found that the brown one, just remember the brown one, is for wood and other household applications. And then last but not least, you're gonna need wood. To get started, make sure you have your tape measure, you have something to mark with, and a speed square. The speed square comes in handy. So take your tape measure, start at the end, pull it all out to 48 inches. Make sure it's 48 inches, mark it. Go ahead and use your speed square to keep it straight, and then use your marker, your pen, or what I'm doing is just using a screwdriver. Come from the other side, do the same thing, mark it off, and what you'll find is you'll probably have a small, maybe a 1/4 of an inch gap or an 1/8 of an inch gap. So make sure you account for that when you're actually cutting it. Make sure you measure the height of the Safe and Sound. It goes to 15 inches and 1/4. So every cross piece is gonna have to be 15 inches and 1/4. That's for the top, the bottom of the frame, and the supports that go in the middle. Go ahead and measure out the first, You can start, so 15 1/4 plus 15 1/4 is 30 1/2. So make sure you can either stop at 15 1/4 or just go up to 30 1/2. Take your speed square and mark it. Make sure you're on a new piece of wood too. Once you're done marking it, move back down to the 15 1/4 and go ahead and mark that as well. And those are the two places you're going to cut. Since you're going to need more pieces, you can measure off every 15 1/4 and make another mark, because you're going to need a total of 4 of the small pieces and 4 of the long pieces. So take your saw or whatever tool you have. In my case, I have a miter saw, which makes it a whole lot easier. Make your cuts. Make both sides cuts. Don't forget to take into account the thickness of the saw blade. When you're done, you put the pieces together and make sure they line up perfectly. If they're not perfect, make adjustments. You take your other piece and you do the same thing. Cut your 15 1/4 pieces down. Go ahead and cut all 4 of them. Line those up. Make sure they're good to go. Now comes the fun part. Take your 90-degree. Like I said, I didn't use this the first time, but I damn sure use it this time. Take your 90-degree angle. Go ahead and stick it on there and tighten up the clamps. And now you have this perfect thing. Be sure to put your short pieces on the inside and your long pieces on the outside. See how these fold? I'll show you again in a second if you can't get it here. Time to take your tools. Now you want to choose a drill bit that's just a little bit smaller than the total circumference of your screw. If it's too big, your screw won't grab. If it's too small, you run the risk of splitting the wood. Go ahead and attach your drill bit to your drill and you're ready to go. Let's do this. Take your drill and drill down 2 holes. Perfect holes. You don't have to worry about cleaning them out too much. Take your screwdriver and attach your 2 screws. Take your clamp off, and what you are is you're left with a 90-degree. It might be a little wobbly because that's the only angle, but if you go to the other side and attach the clamp, you'll be good. Notice here the difference. You want to make sure that the top piece goes on the inside. You can also use the other pieces to hold it up to create that perfect angle. Go ahead and drill, attach your screws, and you're halfway there. Well, you're halfway there to building the frame, of course. Notice here, I've got this side built, and then I'm going to go ahead and put this cross piece up here. What we're going to end up doing is I'm going to drill 2 more holes to attach this on both sides. This is the backing. So go ahead and repeat the process on the other side for the frame. So this is the final frame right here. As you can see, I have the cross member piece and to support the safe and sound material, sort of. It'll support it along with the fabric, and then also the piece to hang it at the top with the French cleat. I'm gonna put a French cleat on the back. You can buy those on Amazon. I bought mine on Amazon. So here we go. Next phase, go ahead and load up your stapler with staples, like loading a gun, sorta. I mean, it is a staple gun, I guess. Get it locked, loaded, ready to go, and you're ready to go to work. So you wanna go ahead and you take the fabric, the backing. In this case, like I said before, early in the video, I used burlap, but you wanna just kind of lay it loosely on there, because what you're gonna end up doing is when you staple it, you wanna pull it a little snug. And just go ahead and every 2 inches or so, pull it a little tight on one side and just staple away. Work your way all the way around. Bottom, one side, bottom, across over, and then the top. And you need to pull this a little bit every time just to kind of firm up the fabric, firm up the material, because it's going to be holding, again, the safe and sound deadener. And go ahead and take your scissors, because you're going to want some scissors. I didn't put that in the in the materials, but yeah, find some scissors and just go ahead and cut off the excess around the outside. Go and get your safe and sound material, lay it in there. Make sure you use gloves. Safe and sound has a slight adjutant. It's not like old school insulation, but it still has a little bit of adjutant in it. So you don't want to get it all over your hands. And this is really the only time you're ever going to touch it. Go ahead and press it in there and it should fit pretty snug. It would fall out if you turned it upside down. Once you do that, go ahead and get your felt or whatever you're using. I recommend felt. Lay it over the top, hold it on one side, and just flip the entire piece over. We're almost finished. We're almost there because the hard part has already been taken care of. The hard part is building the frame and putting the safe and sound in there. Now you kind of do the same thing you did with the backing. That you just go ahead and fold it over Start on one side. Do not do the top or the bottom. Just start on either the left side or the right side. Pay attention to where the staples are from the backing fabric and try to do every other space so that you don't staple on top of the existing staples. Just like that. Take your time. You don't really have to worry about pulling it tight. And when you're done with one side, go ahead and cut it off, just like you did with the backing. Now switch over to the other side. And again, like I said before, don't do the top or the bottom. Save those for the last. Now, when you work on the opposite side of where you originally started, you want to make sure you pull it tight just a little bit. You get both sides done. Now you move to the end. I don't know if you've ever wrapped Christmas gifts before, but I found that this is the best way that works for me. Just like that. You want to go ahead and tuck it in. Just like wrapping a Christmas gift. Do one side, do the other side, go ahead and secure it. And then when you're done, you just kind of pull it over and staple it in. Repeat it on both sides. Add a few extra staples if you want. And this is what your finished product is going to look like before you hang it up on the wall. All four corners, all nicely done. And it should be nice and tight on the back and on the front. Flip it over, kind of take a tour of it. Go ahead and appreciate your own work. Don't worry about any of the dust that's on there. You can take it off with a lint roller later on. Take it into your room, add the French cleat on the back, and hang it on the wall. Sit back and appreciate your work. So I built a total of 8 of these panels. 2 of them for this video, and 6 of them I already had. This will absolutely take your sound to the next level. I can promise you that. So it's been a few months, 2020. So it's been a few months since I started this video. That's how slow I am. A lot of things get in the way. Did a video about the foam. Did some other videos. So I figured it's only fair that I gave you guys an updated sound clip with these acoustic panels that we just did and some of the other stuff I've done in the room. Okay, you guys ready? You hear that? There's no sound bouncing around the room. Sounds excellent. And that's facing the camera, where I have far less stuff on the wall over there than I do behind me. If I turn around, the sound is dampened. It goes nowhere. That makes for a great sounding studio. That makes for a great sounding podcast. Let me know in the comments if you guys want me to do those panels as well, because they're only about this thick and they're made out of old bath towels. So other than that, if you like what you heard, go ahead and subscribe. Go ahead and leave me a comment. I can't grow unless you guys help me. Make sure you check out the podcast as well. Let's do this. Let's grow this thing together.